Well, I just wanted to welcome everyone. I'm glad you could be here today. Glad Faith with the Department of Labor could also be here and talk a little bit about apprenticeship programs. I have a very brief little slideshow, and then I'm going to let Faith take it over with apprenticeships and how employers can get started and how they can register employees and whatnot. So I think it's important to note that apprenticeships, all of the skilled trade industries, they're facing a shortage of skilled workers, and that companies that invest in their employees through apprenticeship programs attract a higher quality workforce and employees that are loyal to their company. It's also important to note that K-Tech has a long history of providing high quality apprenticeship programs. We have been the region's apprenticeship provider for many, many years. Our goal is to give individuals the opportunity to learn a trade and build Virginia. So we do have a catalog, and then I wanted to be able to share and give you easy access to. But you can double click on this slide, and we are going to share this recording with Jenny to be able to get out and you have access to in the future. But if you double click this icon here, you have access to our full course offerings. Also, we are hiring for apprenticeship instructors. So if you or anyone that you know would be a valuable person to give back to the community and teach the next generation of plumbers, electricals, or HVAC technicians, we would love to meet them and potentially be able to bring them on board. So there is that information. Faith, if there's no questions, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, great. So registered apprenticeship has been in the state of Virginia for over 80 years. We just find that for some reason, I guess because we're a state agency, marketing isn't the best. So a lot of people just aren't aware of registered apprenticeship. But to get started, well, basically what registered apprenticeship is, it's on-the-job training paired with related instruction. And in this case, the related instruction would be through K-Tech, since we're in Charlottesville, and Shannon has curriculum set up for the trades that meet our requirements. So, and the programs are based off of federal guidelines, which determines how long a program is. We have a general labor, which is kind of the shortest in the trades, and that's a 4,000 hour program, which means it would take somebody working full-time 2 years to complete. And then most of our trades, plumbing, electricians, HVAC, carpenters, those are about 8,000 hour programs. And with each year of a program, it requires 144 hours of related instruction. So if we have a plumber, for example, they will be working full-time for 4 years while they learn their on-the-job training, plus they will need 576 hours of classroom instruction. And that's just a little how it works. We also have youth registered apprenticeship. And the good thing about a youth registered apprenticeship is they can start when they're 16. And how we're able to do that, especially if there's concerns about safety, is I ask for a job description, and that goes directly to child labor law. And they are the ones that will review the job description and let you know if there's anything that can't be done until that person turns 18. It works the same hours would qualify. And then we just work with the student, the parent, the school, and the employer to figure out how much they can work. If it can be up to 40 hours a week, great. If it has to be less than that, of course, their program may be extended out a little bit. From there, to get started, we do a work process, which is basically a job description, but it's your tasks set out into hours. So if we have an 8,000 hour program, you're just going to list your tasks and about how much hours it would take somebody to learn those tasks, and it just totals the amount of the program. I have several work process examples that I can share. And if one of those work great, then you just tell me that's great and we just take that one. If not, you can go in and modify it however you want, as long as those hours total, the amount of hours. And then once an apprentice is ready to complete, so they've done all their on-the-job training, they've completed their classes. From there, we go on and issue the paperwork for their completion. If it's a licensure program, so if they want to go get their plumbing license, the one form that we send is the only form that they have to submit to DPOR to be able to get to apply to test. So that's just about how it works. It's really simple to get started. Once we have the work process done, I just need a few questions, basic information, employer name, contact person, that type of stuff. We do ask for estimated pay wages. So at the beginning, you can bring on somebody brand new with zero experience a little less than you could somebody else. So of course, they're going to start out at a lower amount. So what might that be? And then we ask for their ending rate. So after their 4 years or 2 years, however long the program is, what could they be making? And we know that's going to be different based on if they're coming to work, if they're going to their classes. You would just do their pay raise how you would a regular employee. So it's just an estimate. It doesn't have to be anything exact. And then I just wanted to mention, we currently have a grant that's available. It's for new apprentices. That's up to $1,000 per apprentice is what you could get. The qualifies for that because the construction trade isn't in the grant, but we could use the grant for minorities, women in the field, non-traditional roles, people with disabilities, and returning citizens. So if there's any employees that fall under that category, you could get up to $1,000 per apprentice for that. And I think that kind of just covers the gist of how things work. Does anybody have any specific questions about registered apprenticeship or getting started? Yes.
What does a company need other than providing their basic information, the estimated pay wages, and the work process hours?
So you have to at least have somebody there that falls under the category. So if you're gonna do a construction labor, you just have to have at least one person identified, could be that mentor for that apprentice to reach out to. Same with like a plumber in all those cases. Other than that, it's not a lot of paperwork at all. Now, if you go onto the grant side of things, there's a little bit more paperwork, but just to initially get a program started, that's really all the information I need. I take that information, I put it into 4 different forms, and I send it to you. You review it and sign it, and then you're registered as a sponsor of apprenticeship.
So there's no need to have a certified journeyman carpenter.
There isn't, no.
Okay. So it's all, and then say the company I work for wants to do this, start this today.
Mm-hmm.
Would we call you?
Yep, you just reach out to me. I'll send an email back, or if you want to make a phone call, call back, and just I'll collect that information. I do travel a good bit, but turnarounds within a couple of days. I try to schedule at least 2 days in the office a week. So during those 2 days is usually when I do paperwork. So it can be relatively quickly. And then once I have everything back, you're officially a registered apprenticeship, a sponsor. You can go ahead and register your apprentices. They can be new employees or existing employees. And if they're existing employees, we can give them credit for time that they've already worked and any classes that they've already taken. So they don't have to start from day one when the paperwork's done. That's as well as if they have experience with you, or if they come from another contractor. If you as the sponsor want to count that credit, we leave that up to you. And you can do the credit up front, or you can maybe let them work for 6 months and see, if they really can do what they say they can do, and then just let me know and I can add that credit at any time.
Awesome. And then sorry, I'm just going to keep on.
Oh, you're fine.
Some open dialogue. After the 4 years is complete,
Mhm.
They were talking carpentry. They receive a certified journeyman's
They would, yes.
certificate from from DPOR.
Right, from Department of Labor. Since there's no testing required, it would just, if there's no testing on a program or licensure required, once they complete, they have their journeyman's card. If there's testing required, we give them the paper, well, we would present it to the sponsor so you can present it to your employee. But we would give that to you all, and then they would submit that to DPOR to be able to test.
Cool.
And another, I mean, this is relatively off, but another thing that we do is if a sponsor has been a consistent sponsor, consistently have apprentices for 10 years, at the 10-year mark, they can do an application process through us and DPOR that allows them not to test. So any electrician, plumbers, HVAC that you have that come through after that 10-year point, when they complete, they automatically submit the form to DPOR, and then DPOR sends their license to them. There's no testing required.
Nice. So are companies taking advantage of this, or not as much as you guys would like to see?
No, they definitely are. So on my caseload, I have Charlottesville, Madison Green, Albemarle, Harrisonburg, Rockingham, and just me personally, I have about 650 apprentices with about 250 sponsors. And everybody's caseload's similar, so it might be a little lower in like more rural areas. Like obviously I don't have that many from Greene or Orange County compared to Charlottesville, but people are definitely taking advantage of it. UVA Facility Management, they've had a program for over 30 years now that they consistently use. And every year when they have their open enrollment for their apprentices, they usually hire between 12 and 15, depending on the need, but they have over hundreds applicants that apply for that because it's such a well-established program.
That's great. 650 is a lot of kids.
Yeah.
So if I can summarize it, a company that right now does not have any apprentices but wants them, they reach out to you, fill out the paperwork, fast forward to getting approved, I guess, at some point.
Yeah, and there's really not an approval. It's just because I'm going to get all the information from you. The only time like we wouldn't approve, I wouldn't even say we wouldn't approve. We've had complaints about employers using registered apprenticeship as a way to bring in low wage workers and never like increase their rate or, give them the grunt work and never teach them anything. So at that point, we would do an evaluation and determine if they remain a sponsor or not. But yeah, as soon as I get the information, I turn the forms around to you, you make sure everything's correct. And then as soon as I have them back, you're officially a sponsor.
And then when we're officially a sponsor, we reach out to Shannon and K-Tech regarding the actual student pool.
Right.
Okay.
And then when we're looking at the youth, with the forms, I also need a parent signature, but Shannon and I can work together on obtaining that. So the employer have extra responsibilities to do.
Gotcha. So the work up front with Faith, and then once that's done and you're a registered sponsor, then it's working with Shannon and K-Tech through graduation.
Right.
Okay. Does seem simple.
It's very simple. A lot of people get worried because we're a state agency and think like we require a bunch of paperwork and are constantly going to be following up. And once a sponsor is registered, I'll typically follow up a year later just to make sure everything that you set up is going the way you want it to go and nothing needs to change. And then after that, I'm only in contact when they're ready to complete the program, unless you all would need something from me in the meantime.
Okay. And in the event, so a company is essentially signing on a commitment for 4 years, hopefully. I'm sure that doesn't always work out.
It doesn't.
what happens to the student at that point? They
Yeah,
try
if
to find another company. I guess.
yeah, they could. It would just depend on the student. So if you know, if you get somebody, and Shannon's going to place you with the best students that she has, but let's just say for some reason a student stops following up, coming to work, you have to discipline them, and then you determine that you no longer need them as an employee. Their employment comes first. So at that time, you just let me know, and then I just cancel them. You're not, just because you're signing up saying you're going to do this for 4 years doesn't mean you have to stick with it if it doesn't work out. And then to cancel, that's all you need to do is just let me know, and then I take care of it. There's nothing else you need to do.
Okay. Another question came to mind. If the supervisor that can he be a supervisor of multiple apprentices?
He can. So we like to do, so one of the questions I'll ask is how many journey workers you currently have. That doesn't mean they actually have to have their journeyman's card. It's how many people you feel can train. And that's how many apprentices we like to have, because we do like to keep it one-on-one. But we can make exceptions for that. So if you only have one person, but you really have 2 students that you're interested in, I just need to email my director and let her know. And then she's never not approved it.
Okay. Thank you.
Would you talk a little bit about why apprenticeships are important, or why they're a good thing for companies to embrace?
Sure. So we do find that when the investment is done with an apprentice, they're more likely to stay with that company because they know that that company has taken it upon themselves to make an investment in them. When we're looking at youth registered apprenticeship, most of their schooling is going to be done when they're in high school. But when we're looking at the adult side, if the company is paying for their classes and putting them with a mentor and making sure they get the training that they need to get their journeyman's or their license, they're more committed to stay with that company. So that's the biggest perk that we find with registered apprenticeship when it comes to the sponsor. And then the other thing is you get to train your employee how you want to train them. So if they come, they don't have the opportunity to learn bad habits from other people, the company's going to be able to train them the right way, the way that it needs to be done.
You.
Mm-hmm.
Good question. So you were talking about the youth registered apprenticeship program. Is that only for kids that are 16, 17? Once they're 18 and graduate, they're considered an adult?
Right. It just, on our end, it automatically switches over. The sponsor doesn't have to do anything. When it reaches, usually Richmond has us reach out in like February, March to get an estimated hours that they work, because they will get a certificate stating they completed a youth registered apprenticeship program. That's not stating they completed their whole program, because of course they'll still have more time. But we do ask for those estimated hours, and it doesn't have to be exact. And I mean, if you have time, the time clock system should be able to pull that, but it doesn't have to be exact. And then they just get an extra credential that they completed a youth registered apprenticeship program.
And another beauty about the youth registered apprenticeship program is, if they're taking building trades or electrical here at K-Tech while they're in high school, we actually give them credit into the adult apprenticeship side. So instead of starting at year 1 or potentially year 2, depending on how long they were in the course, we give them credit. So they could potentially start in year 2 on the adult side, or even potentially year 3 on the adult side. So they get to knock out a lot of that related technical instruction while in high school.
And is the cost the same for the youth registered apprentice versus the adult? As far as, I think it was $1,200 a year. Is that the same no matter the age?
For the youth side, it's free. They're getting the education while they're in high school. So, it's public education that they're funded. It's when they switch to the adult side that there is a cost for classes.
And
Makes
with
sense.
that cost, the sponsor isn't necessarily responsible. We have different employers do it different ways. Some may have the apprentice pay up front, and then once they have a certain grade at the end of the semester, they'll reimburse all of it or part of it. Some just leave it up to the sponsor to pay for it, or the apprentice to pay for it, and then some of our sponsors just fully pay for it. So there's no set way that it has to be done. It's up to each individual sponsor how they want to do that.
Shameless plug for Blue Ridge. We do have funds in our budget to help with those funds. So if you're interested in becoming and opening an apprenticeship program or being an apprenticeship sponsor, contact us and we can maybe help you with that.
Exactly.
And K-Tech does as well. So for our adult programs, we have scholarships available for students. So
Yeah, there's always usually some type of funding out there. And again, I would encourage anybody to take advantage of any grant or funding that you could find, whether it's through Workforce or the schools or the grant that we currently have. It's definitely, a good opportunity to reach out and see what you can find.
What's the best way to find that information, Faith?
So I wish there was a best way to find it. It would be great if all agencies could come up with some platform to work together to share the information. But I would always just reach out to schools, to workforce boards, to anybody in the Department of Labor. And if we don't, like on our end, if we currently aren't aware of anything going on, I think the best next step would be the schools and then the workforce boards.
And Blue Ridge Home Builders Association.
Yeah, anybody, yeah. So can I ask what type of funding that the Blue Ridge Association has, or is there qualifications for that? Just so I'm aware, so I can help spread that a little bit.
Eric, do you want to take that one? Or you want me to take it?
I'll let you take it.
Okay, so we have a workforce development committee that has some funds. Currently, we have $6,000 in our
Okay.
so we can sponsor 5 students. If the cost is $1,200, then those are the funds that we have. We're anticipating that we can up that amount in years to come. But for right now, we have funds available. So that's our plan.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good.
And we want to
Mhm.
also.
Well, that's all I have, unless there's any other questions. And if you guys think of anything later that you didn't think to ask at this time, please feel free to reach out to me. I don't mind answering any questions that you may have.
Are there any graphics or flyers or anything that we could maybe pass out through our membership to help them get in touch?
Sure. Yeah, I can email you some information, and then I can also mail some brochures. We don't have that digitally, but the information that I can send you some flyers on would be helpful.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Shannon, the course catalog, how do we view that or get our hands on it?
So I can send a direct link to Jenny as well. But we've been recording this. So for any members who need to review it again or were not able to participate, I will also share the link to this meeting. But I will share that with Jenny, and then she can make sure that everyone gets the link to the catalog.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. We really appreciate it. And we're excited. We're looking forward to working with you all and hopefully getting some more people in the local workforce.
Yeah, thank you.